This inversion right here is one of the most unique and insane inversions you can experience on any roller coaster out there. That inversion is called a JoJo roll. And that JoJo roll, found on Copperhead Strike at Carowinds, is one of the few JoJo rolls in existence. This inversion is super rare, and that inversion alone makes Copperhead Strike a must-ride coaster at Carowinds. But there's a lot more to this ride. It's got launches, more inversions, obviously a JoJo roll, and some very confusing theming. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as we discuss everything there is about Copperhead Strike, what you should expect, and my thoughts on this coaster. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Let's start off with some stats of Copperhead Strike. Copperhead Strike stands 82 feet tall, reaches a top speed of 50 miles per hour, features 2 launches, 3,255 feet of track, 5 inversions, and opened up back in 2019. This coaster is super smooth, no rattle, no shakiness, and it's definitely one of the smoothest coasters that you can ride. Copperhead Strike operates with 3 trains, each holding 16 riders a train, and this coaster was built by Mock Rides. I really do like the color scheme this coaster features. I really like the shade of orange they chose for the track, and the gray supports look very nice along with the track. And overall, this coaster is very photogenic and looks really nice. Everything about the ride is just, it looks nice. Like everything flows smoothly when you're watching it. The colors pop and look really nice. All of the elements look fun, cool, and exciting. It's just a really nice coaster to look at. And it really helps to get you excited for your ride while you are in line. And speaking of lines, Copperhead Strike is not the most high capacity attraction out there, so do expect to wait a little bit. We're talking anywhere between 15 to 45 minutes, due to the nature of this ride being a little bit more on the low capacity end. These trains do only feature 16 riders per train. For context, B&M Inverts and Hypers, they feature normally 32 passengers per train, so about half of what a B&M Hyper or Invert would feature. The dispatches are fairly quick, and the line does move pretty consistently, but it's just not the fastest moving line out there. So basically just expect to wait a little while for this coaster. Nothing crazy, but it's not going to be a walk-on constantly. The trains are your standard mock ride trains. They're nice and comfortable. They are lap bars, so there's not going to be any headbanging or whatever. And it really makes those inversions hang time even better. And another thing to note before going into this ride, this coaster is not focused on intensity. It's a lot more focused on hang time and weightlessness and air time rather than rip your face off G-forces. And the lap bars really help make that hang time even better. Now before we get to the ride experience of Copperhead Strike, which is surprisingly really good, let's talk about the slightly confusing theme of Copperhead Strike. So to quote Wikipedia for a simple explanation of this, quote, "The ride places guests in the shoes of visitors to Old Granny Bird's farmhouse on the edge of town. Granny has been making her prize-winning jam for over 40 years, but the farm is filled with signs warning trespassers to leave the property and look out for snakes." So basically, you enter Granny's house where she makes her jam, and you discover a secret ingredient, whatever that may be, and you launch out into this layout, and I guess run away from snakes. This was one of Cedar Fair's first attempts at really trying to theme their rides. Like, they had done Mystic Timbers the year before, but they were still dipping their toes in the water to try and make their rides better themed. So I think the story is maybe not the strongest, but I do appreciate the effort they put into this ride's theming. They could have just plopped it down on a bare piece of land, put a couple cattle pen cues up, and called it a day. They did take the time to try and develop a pretty okay story and add some theming elements to the ride, which I do appreciate. Bottom line, I appreciate Carowinds' effort into trying to make this a more themed attraction, and it does make the ride experience better overall, but the story's just lacking in a few areas. But overall, definitely better than nothing. It's now finally time to run through the layout of Copperhead Strike, element by element, and of course discuss the amazing JoJo roll. You begin your ride with a bang by slowly rolling out to the station into a very slow heartline roll, leaving you hanging into your lap bar for multiple seconds. It may look like an unassuming element at first, but you are hanging for so long, like into your lap bar without anything else holding you in, that it makes this experience like just way better. Like, I can't describe it. It's such a unique and cool element that has you hanging upside down for longer than most likely any other inversion you've experienced. Like, it is so good. And I would dare to say that this is one of my favorite, if not maybe even my favorite inversion that I've experienced on a roller coaster ever. It is a surreal experience that I can't really even describe. Hanging upside down for 4-5 seconds, like, at a time, like, that's crazy. In my opinion, this is the standout element of the ride, and it sets the tone for what's to be a really good ride after that. So, you've experienced the JoJo roll. It was amazing. You hung upside down for 5 whole seconds, which is ridiculous. And you think the ride's over, it's going to be fine from here, but no, the ride continues to impress. So you go in Granny's house, blah blah blah, jam, whatever theming, and then launch out of this little house. And I want to say it's not an intense launch. I've heard other people say this too. It's more of like a gentle push to get you started. It's not intense, but it's still fun. It's like the one in your face and everything. It's just not the most punchy launch there is. You then head into a vertical loop, again delivering multiple seconds of hang time. Like, you are just sitting in your seat upside down for 2, 3, 4 seconds at a time. It's crazy. You exit that, fly over an airtime hill, getting some nice flowjector airtime before heading into a corkscrew, followed by a right-hand turn. The corkscrew is pretty good. It's a little more whippy than these other elements, but you do still get a little bit of hang time there at the end. You continue through a series of turns before getting a nice little pop of airtime and hitting your second launch, with an airtime hill in the middle of it. Airtime hill within a launch, I mean, what can go wrong? And it is very good. You get a strong pop of airtime while you accelerate over the launch, and it's really a unique experience and feeling you don't really get on other roller coasters. You continue your acceleration before going into an element called a cutback, where you hang again for forever, hanging in your seat for multiple seconds. As you look down at the cube below, it's such a good element too. You just hang for forever. Really good element. You then go through a high-speed turn before hitting another vertical loop. This one a little more intense with a little less hang time, but still very good. You then go through a twisted airtime hill, getting a good pop of airtime in the back, followed by a nice little snappy twist, followed by some more low to the ground turns. And it is kind of shocking how much speed you still have after all this time. I know this looks a little slow in the POV, but this was taken earlier in the morning. After that little spaghetti section, you go for a small little airtime hill, delivering one little pop of airtime before gliding up into your brake run, concluding your ride on Copperhead Strike. You then roll back to the station, stare at that JoJo roll, and immediately want to get back in line. This is a really good roller coaster, and it was an incredibly good decision and addition to Carowinds back in 2019, and still holds up in Carowinds coaster lineup to this day. In fact, this is my second favorite roller coaster at Carowinds, just behind Fury 325. And Fury 325 is an insanely good roller coaster, and I didn't think this was too far behind. You have to take a ride on Copperhead Strike whenever you visit Carowinds. It is so good. Enjoy the JoJo roll. It's really a surreal experience. And yeah, I cannot recommend riding Copperhead Strike enough. It's a really good roller coaster. Now, all of that's nice and all, but what about the wooden roller coaster on the other side of the park? You know who I'm talking about. Hurler. And it gets a lot of hate, but does it even deserve it? Well, check out the video on your screen right now, because the answer will definitely shock you. If you want to see more coaster content just like this, then a sub to the channel would be fantastic. It helps out the channel a lot, and I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, and I need your help. Drop a like down below while you're at it. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.